One of the drawbacks that folks in professional audio in the open source realm face is a lack of all the cool proprietary plugins that everybody else in the world uses. So one of those areas is in mid-side processing, like mid-side EQ. I can't find any open source mid-side EQ plugins. But what I have found is that I can combine a couple open source plugins together and accomplish the same thing. The reason I was researching this and wanted to be able to do mid-side EQ is that I got some advice from folks on Gearspace that if I was recording an ensemble using a closely spaced pair of omnis, that the stereo imaging might be compromised a bit when listening through monitors or loudspeakers. The imaging might be good in headphones, but not so great in loudspeakers. And I'm not going to get into the psychoacoustics of that because I don't fully understand it yet, but they suggested that I would need to use a shuffler to help accentuate the stereo imaging in loudspeakers. In my brief investigations into shufflers, it's actually hard to find information on it, but I believe that the first shuffler was invented by Blumlein, and the basics of what I'm trying to accomplish to cut to the chase here is that I want to boost some bass frequencies in the sides and maybe cut some of it in mids or leave it alone, but I want to be able to EQ mid-side to help maybe accentuate some of that imaging. So what I have here in Ardour is a session where I have just my AB pair of omnis duplicated in 2 tracks here, so it's a stereo and these are identical. The reason I like doing this is I like having my original unprocessed, so I can always refer back to that, and I can even A-B it or even see if it zeros or see if it nulls. So I'll play the clip for you really quickly that's in channel 2 here. Okay, so channel 1 is identical and I have it muted, and I also have the polarity reversed, such that if I unmute it and play the same clip, you hear nothing, because when the polarities are reversed, it nulls. So that's a nice way to not only make sure that I haven't changed anything, but once I do start changing things, then I can unmute channel 1 and find out exactly, listen to what I've changed. Okay, so what I want to do here to do mid-side EQ here in Ardour is to add a few plugins. So I'm going to add stereo routing twice, and then I'm going to add a parametric EQ mono twice. So here in channel 2, I have 4 plugins now, and we're going to go stereo routing, EQ, EQ, and then stereo routing. So stereo routing on the top and bottom, EQs in the middle. So the first one here then is we're going to use the setting called 2 mid-side. So this takes a left-right stereo and converts it, channels 1 and 2, into mid-side. So then we're going to do the opposite on the way back out here, which is we're going to go from mid-side back into left-right. So without any EQ done here, in theory, this should still be identical to the original. And if I unmute this and play the clip, it still nulls. So that means it's still the original. All right, I'm going to go ahead and rename these just to make them a little more obvious as I'm working with this. I'm going to call this left-right to mid-side. Then the first EQ is going to be mid-EQ. Second is going to be, you guessed it, side EQ. And then, oops, the last one then is going to be called mid-side to left-right. So the next thing I need to do then is to play with the pin connections here. So for this channel, we'll go to pin connections. This pop-up can look a little daunting at first, but it's pretty simple once you've looked at it a few times. I have 4 plugins here, and these are the 4 plugins. And you can see this, since this is a stereo channel, this is left-right. And then this first channel, or this first plugin, converts left and right in channels 1 and 2 into mid-side in channel 1 and 2. And here are my 2 EQs, and this is the one that converts it from mid-side back into left-right. So you'll notice when you add a mono EQ here to a stereo channel, it puts 2 instances of it. And I don't think I necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to put this into manual config and get rid of one of those instances. It just makes it a little bit cleaner. I don't think you have to do that, but... All right, so the next thing we want to do here is that when we have our mid and our side, we want the mid to be processed by the first EQ and then to bypass the second one. So we just drag from here to here, And then that accomplishes that. And then for the side, which is channel 2, we want to bypass the first EQ and then go into the second one and back out. So just from top to bottom again, we got left, right in channels 1 and 2, converted into mid side. Mid is processed by the first EQ, bypassing the second, and then converted back into left, right. And similarly, the side bypasses the first EQ, goes into the second, and goes back into the last plugin. So that's pretty much it. I'm ready to do mid-side EQ now. So I will bring up my 2 EQs at the same time. So the top is mid and the bottom is side. So let's just make some sweeping changes so we can hear the differences between mid and side. Don't forget to mute channel 1. Okay, you could hear that that was operating on mid. So now let's try the same thing with side. All right, so as I said earlier, the reason I keep this around is if I unmute this, then we can hear only the changes I've made here, which is really pretty cool. So if I zero this back out and start it playing, you'll hear nothing until I start making changes. So I'll start this playing with these 2 channels nulling and then make some changes to mid and side again so you can hear just the changes. So one of the things you'll notice is when you diff something or reverse the polarity to see if it nulls, when you add versus subtracting in EQ, it sounds exactly the same because you're listening to just the differences. So you just have to know what you're listening for there. But again, I just like to hear that to get some proof. Okay, so the next thing, I mean, the whole purpose of this is to get a little more stereo definition in loudspeakers by boosting some bass frequencies in sides only. So I will try to accomplish that here. So hopefully you're listening to this on monitors. So from what I understand, I think I want around 200 hertz, but it depends on the spacing of the Omni. So this is definitely not, this is not where I want to land, but I know it's somewhere in this range, and I doubt I want to boost much more than 6. But next, I'll just play the same clip and A-B it, just to see if it made any difference at all. Well, I'll let you be the judge as to whether that helped. It's definitely going to take some more research on my part to use this effectively, but it's a pretty cool tool, and it's something we can do in open source.